Donald Trump elevating Steve Bannon to chief strategist and senior counselor in the White House. Already, multiple hate watch groups are head of the right-wing website Breitbart News, with a nationalist populist reputation. Known for controversial headlines like Bill Kristol, Republican spoiler, renegade Jew, and birth control makes women unattractive and crazy.
What we need to do is bitch slap the Republican Party and get those guys, heaving too. And if we have to, we'll take it over.
Bannon's longtime mission to take down the establishment wing of the Republican Party.
If you're fighting to take this country back, it's not going to be sunshine patriots. It's going to be people who want to fight. I mean, Andrew Breitbart was all about the fight. In fact, we call ourselves internally the Fight Club.
And Bannon's target number one has been House Speaker Paul Ryan. Emails obtained by the Hill newspaper show Bannon giving orders to his staff to try to take him down, saying the long game is to have Ryan gone by spring. Bannon, a former Navy officer and Goldman Sachs banker, also surrounded by controversy in his private life. In 2007, his ex-wife accused him of domestic violence and making anti-Semitic remarks, saying in court he doesn't like Jews and that he doesn't like they raise their kids to be whiny brats and that he didn't want the girls going to school with Jews. But Bannon's camp says he never said it.
I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans.
Now, with Bannon in the White House, critics questioning Trump's inclusive vision. Sunland Servati, CNN, Washington.
For those who have chosen...
Our thanks to Sunland. So, Steve Bannon is now the president-elect's senior strategist. So what, you could say? They all have people around him. Well, he promotes a lot of controversial and divisive notions through his website. Calling it alt-right may be a compliment. Now, this could matter if President Trump starts taking positions that deny rights and play to intolerance. So let's discuss the potential here with senior editor of The Washington Post and author of Trump Revealed, Mark Fisher, and CNN political analyst and Washington bureau chief for The Daily Beast, Jackie Kucinich. Mark, Jason Miller, spokesperson for President-elect Trump, said people like me are pushing division by being skeptical and critical about what Bannon could represent. Do you agree?
Well, Donald Trump is a guy who has two voices coming at him at all times, and he's now putting this into action in the White House. So you have this gift to the establishment in the form of Reince Priebus, and you have this flamethrower, even hate monger, Stephen Bannon. And this is quite typical of the way Trump operates. We saw this just the other day with the tweet over the protests in Portland. 1 minute he's being provocative, even offensive, and then just hours later he's being conciliatory and gracious. And I think what he's setting up is a presidency in which there will be this battle royal between those two forces that have been so dominant throughout his life.
So then, Jack, it becomes the question of which voice wins and when. I mean, Donald Trump has been said to pay particular attention to sort of the last voice in the room, whoever he's been meeting with last. I mean, frankly, look at his shift on Obamacare. That came after he spent 90 minutes in the room with President Obama saying, all right, I'm going to consider these things. So whose voice wins in that battle royale?
Well, if you're an establishment Republican, you're keeping your fingers firmly crossed that it's Reince Priebus. And I will note, when you were seeing reaction to these two hires come out last night, no one in the establishment or any kind of elected Republican was mentioning Bannon. It said, oh, yay, Reince Priebus, he's going to be the chief of staff. That's a great choice. And then on the question of Bannon, it's been crickets. And so, because of his divisive stances, because of some of the things that he's said, these Republicans who are in elected office are going to have to comment on him, because he is going to have power, because he has the president-elect's ear. So, no matter this team of rivals thing that Donald Trump has set out, the focus really should be on Bannon because of the things that he's said in the past. You have to hold that to account.
All right, let's talk about policy. And it is not unusual for presidents to say one thing when they're campaigning for the position and another once they get in. What is your take, though, Mark, in terms of what we've seen with, let's take, for example, one of the things last night in 60 Minutes, that gay marriage is settled law, according to Donald Trump, but Roe v. Wade is not settled law, according to Donald Trump. Here's some sound.
are you looking to appoint a justice who wants to overturn Roe v. Wade?
So here's what's going to happen. I'm pro-life. The judges will be pro-life. If it ever were overturned, it would go back to the states. So it would go back to the states.
Some women won't be able to get an abortion.
No, it'll go back to the states.
By state? No, some.
Yeah. Well, they'll perhaps have to go to another state.
Now, obviously, both of these current precedents are called stare decisis. They're decided law within the eyes of the Supreme Court. But what do you make about this moving back and forth that we're seeing with Trump? Typical, or is it a deeper read?
This is classic Trump. He's trying to make everyone happy. At the same time, he's trying to maintain his reputation as a bomb thrower, provocateur, and he wants to make deals. So, he considers himself the consummate deal maker. What we're seeing is what may look on the surface like a wholesale withdrawal from some of the more outrageous promises that he may have made during the campaign. Donald Trump never took those promises literally. He told us that when he was at the rallies and saying all kinds of provocative things, he was looking out at the camera bank, looking out to see if that red light was on the camera. That meant he was live on CNN or another network. And he said he would say whatever it took to keep that red light on. And he's kind of surprised, almost shocked that people took those statements literally. And clearly he does not.
He also talked on 60 Minutes last night about how he would deal with social media. Let's listen to him, because he's right. It was incredibly effective for him in the campaign, but the game changes when you're president. Listen.
I'm not saying I love it, but it does get the word out. When you give me a bad story, or when you give me an inaccurate story, or when somebody other than you in another network or whatever, because of course CBS would never do a thing like that, right? I have a method of fighting back. That's very tough.
But you're going to do that as president.
I'm going to do very restrained, if I use it at all. I'm going to do very restrained. I find it tremendous. It's a modern form of communication. There should be nothing you should be ashamed of. It's where it's at.
Okay, after that interview, Jackie, on Friday, he sent 3 mean tweets. I mean, that is what they are. He called the New York Times dishonest, bad coverage, highly inaccurate. As president, how do you walk that line between the sort of open communication with the public, but at the same time acting presidential? Because let's not forget, this comes from the candidate who threatened to multiple times open up libel laws, make it easier for him and other people to sue the media.
Well, Donald Trump's words have never mattered as much as they do now as the president-elect, and it's something that he's going to have to adjust to. Listen, we're in new terrain. When was the last? I mean, we never have had discussed, well, how is the president going to moderate his social media presence? It just hasn't really been in the conversation. And someone who is so committed to that, I mean, the other things that Donald Trump has used social media for is to be very reactionary to world events. He cannot do that as president. That could create all sorts of problems that would have global ramifications. So, as far as his team can get that into his head or try to control that, they probably should, because this could be some of these things that he said you really can't take back.
All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it. What is your take at home? Tweet us at New Day or post your comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/New Day. Coming up, this election, I don't need to tell you, this is one for the history books. You know that. CNN has the inside scoop like no other network, including a revelation about Donald Trump and who he would have endorsed had his campaign ended. Stay tuned.